Hi, you're still watching a very special coverage by Mike for Lima 2035. And if you've been to our Facebook, Mike's Facebook, you have seen the reels, you have seen the live stream of the Yang Amat Berhormat Perdana Menteri PMX, Dato Sri Anwar Ibrahim, going to Lima, visiting on the very first day's morning. But he could only have time to go to a few booths and pavilion. Of course, he went to Mike's Pavilion, you have seen that. But did you know that before he went to Mike's Pavilion, he came to this other pavilion just near here. And the guy behind that pavilion is right here with me, Dato Khal, as I like to call him. Because, you know, if you went to this school in Kuala Kangsar, we don't do all this officious thing. We just go straight to the jugular. So I'm going to ask directly, what did your fellow MCKK old boy, which is the Prime Minister of Malaysia, said to you? You're wearing the tie also today at your own pavilion regarding high tech, regarding aerospace, or regarding maritime, regarding Lima 2035. Can you share one or two with us?
Well, we shared with him what we have been doing in the last 2-3 years in terms of getting all technologies to merge and work together, sharing of information is very important. Before this, information are everywhere, but they are stored in information. But important thing is that when I showed to him our integration of all these systems so that you can make decisions faster, he was very, very excited about it. And he and the Minister of Defence said, this is what we need for MCAN. I said, well, we have a system for MCAN, we've been proposing. He says, okay, let's have the system on board. So Alhamdulillah, he looks happy, and I'm now going to make a proposal for a system to integrate all the systems in Malaysia into one dashboard that people can make decision on.
When you say all the system, is that defense system?
No, it's basically all information system. Defense is one of them. But basically, if there is a flood, all agencies must work together. If you have a disaster, if you have economic situation, all agencies must work together. Currently, everybody is piping. Defense is an easy target because there you get the defense itself, but there is defense, there's also civil defense, there's also public safety, public security, and all these are still stovepiped with each other. So there is a new data act that asks for integration, and we have the software to do it now.
But you know that, yes, we are moving into the digital age in Malaysia. Some people want it faster. I bet my whole whatever I do not have and have that you are one of them. So how do you think we can get past that? Because if we look at the public sector data information itself, which is tremendous, and you know, we have this punca kuasa thing, you know, every ministry, every organization in the government, they've got their own set of laws. It's easy for somebody outside to say, oh, can't you talk to each other? But that's not how the bureaucracy of the government works. So how do you propose, for what you just said just now, for that to be managed?
Any change has to be managed at the top. If you can get somebody like Dato Sri Anwar to actually say, this is what I want, it always flow down. The problem is that at every level there's people, there's little Napoleons everywhere saying that this is my data, you cannot share. Imagine, we have had the IC. Our IC is a very, very secure IC. I think 30 years. And all the data is digital. And yet, if you want to go to immigration, you have to have something else. You have to fill up a form. If you want to go to university, your IC number is yourself. It's already there. It's already proven that it is IT with chip technology and all that, very difficult to break. Why not have the information? But again, wherever you go, who are you? Oh, I have to spell your name, give your birth date, all the information already ready. With that, banks can use it. Everybody can use it. And when you want to go anywhere, that data is already available, and then all the records that link to that data is available to make decisions faster. So I think, like everything else, you previously nothing happens until it's driven from the top. This is why my targeting is that let the top understand what the value, what they're trying to bring, and then they can push it down.
Dato, we're going to have a longer interview when we are back in my partnership hub in Cyberjaya, but for this one, I'm going to jump ahead a bit. So, you've been coming here to exhibition and defense display like Lima, and you've been to all over the world. And the things that you just said just now, our IC, you know, Estonia only got their independence in the early 90s. But by the early 2000s, they're in the top 5 of the e-government tech of the world. It still baffles me that that is a fact. There's no denying that. We had multimedia super corridor ideas in the 80s, and you were younger. I was also younger at that time. But we are now not young anymore, and we haven't seen. Yeah. So, what can leapfrog us? Is it that centralization of everything that you said just now into one? Start with the data, and then look at the integration into the hardware and everything else.
Right. Because once the data is shared, there's a lot more things you can do. Currently with AI, that data is available to be mined in any way you form, whatever you want. But without sharing that data, everyone is still piping little information over. Let me put it this way, even within the police force, they don't share. Even within the military, within their group, they don't share.
So does that mean that SCS is really looking into AI?
Of course. To me, this is the driving factor. We cannot ignore AI, but AI has to be used intelligently.
Is it as a spin-off, or you integrate it into your current operation?
Integrate into the current, because the system we have already collects data. Now taking the data, putting and fuse it together, and using AI to make the decision.
Dato, I promise you, when you have the time, I will hound you at the Mic Partnership Hub. But before we go, one of the key things that the Prime Minister wanted to hear about at the Mike's Pavilion was about youth and TVET. And data has shown over our most important exam in the country, which is called SPM, when you look at the STEM subject enrollment, when you look at the results of papers like maths and maths, we like to talk about the 14,000 maybe that get the all A's, but what about the DEF? If the DEF for key STEM papers are more than 50%, so how do you think, I know you went to one of the best, if not the best school in the region, but if you look at the masses, how do we bring the rest of our population up to speed?
Actually, I would like to have educationists talk to education and figure out what they're thinking. It is wrong to think that every person has to be a scientist. And it's wrong to think that every scientist must have additional maths. Because there are people who want to be doctors and actuaries and accountants. They do not need additional maths. But why you enforce such subject on them? What you want is actually these people have their role to play. During my time, we're not imposed that. We have 120 students, 60 of them in art stream and 60 of them in science stream. They can choose and they can then merge. At high level now, in Malay College, we have the IB program. We don't already merge. We don't say, okay, you want to be a scientist, fine. But you want to be a scientist plus with arts degree, that's fine. Because we need to appreciate that people have different parts of the brain that works better for them. So I think we have to rethink about why we put this very bad framing.
Last one, entrepreneurship. At the end of the day, you've grown with it, the new economic policy. We know that from the colonial baggages, some group of people are not as well off as the rest. You have been the beacon of the new economic policy because you started not as an entrepreneur, you were working for others, and that other was given a chance by the then Prime Minister to start his own entrepreneurship journey. Of course, within the government procurement ecosystem also, but decades later, you are way ahead than maybe what you even expected when you go into it. So what's your advice to those who are interested in Lima? You know, we keep saying, don't just be users in the world. Don't just use AI. Think of something. Be in the supply chain. Don't just use Apple or iPhone or BYD or Tesla. How do you think, now that you've done the things that you have done, what's your best advice? Should we also be thinking and exposing our society to more entrepreneurial possibilities and journeys? Because in the old days, study hard, get good result, and work for others. Be lawyer, accountant, whatever. What would your view now in the new age advice?
To me, entrepreneurship is an essential part of the economic growing. The thing is, we have to understand what an entrepreneur is. Entrepreneur is the one who takes challenges and develop those challenges into some business. The problem we have in our society is that there's too much spoon feeding. You know, the other is that do not think that basically when you want to do something, just because someone else is successful, you're going to be successful. You have to have some uniqueness, some kind of, what are you offering? Because if someone's selling goreng pisang and is successful, you're going to make another goreng pisang store. There's only competition, and the result is that the price of goreng pisang is going to drop. Find goreng pisang with butter, whatever it is, or something. Or find goreng keledek. Uniqueness. Without the niche, you will not be successful.
Dato, I'm not saying this because I'm wearing a Might uniform, but Might has one of the most swanky pavilion around. But it amazed me how a think tank, a platform of partnership, can spend so much effort and resources into being here at places like this, doing what they do. How crucial do you think the role of Might has been, and especially here at Lima 2025?
Might has been very essential in actually part of the national development program, because Might is where you have the marrying of government, high-tech industries, plus the administrators into one group. Cross ministerial border. One of the stovepiping we have is ministries, but through Might we can cross ministries. I mean, we have so many ministries working with us, from education to science to money and other things, and that is the essential part where all these people, including the entrepreneur, can work together as a think tank to get to the Malaysian Inc. concept. Yes.
Thank you so much, Dato. As usual, I don't have the same tie, but we can sync.
I can lend you mine.
It's called system integration. You see, in IT, you don't have to come only from one origin. Diversity matters, but if you haven't heard or know about SCS, Google it or go to my site. You can see tons of previous interview done. Because for me, and I've been a journalist for 30 years, if you are a Gen Z or Gen Alpha of Malaysia, you might want to consider our own homegrown company like this rather than just companies like Tesla or BYD. So that's all from me, from Lima for this time at this moment. Stay tuned.